As good of a time as any. Okay. So this should be fine, I think. Yeah, I think this should be fine. Good day. I shall type in the comment section before saying it in the camera. I should time that. Oh man. Yeah, I did see your render. Well, you know that. Is my mic on? Yes, it is. I left a bunch of comments on the notes as requested. It's pretty good. I have to say it's actually pretty good. Did you model everything yourself, or did you find models online? Because I know there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people posting like free open source models on the net. We'll check again. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Though after modeling comes rigging. That's the that's the not quite so fun part, is it now? Ah, man. This is fun. I like it just just jumping around. It's almost therapeutic with a bit of a challenge to it. Ooh, shit. Oh. Rigging is straightforward up to a certain point. See, the thing is, rigging is easy for you because you're dealing with mechanical objects, animatronics. Rigging becomes a hell of a lot harder when you have to do human characters, as in skin, right? Because then your vertices are fucked up, and the reason and the reason they're fucked up is, I'll get to that in a second. And B is when you're doing rigging for characters that are to be used in game engines. Because the thing is, like, I know what you mean, that rigging is straightforward. It's straightforward for the mechanical characters because even in Maya, and I work in Maya, even in Maya, for mechanical characters you can actually you can parent meshes to bones, which is extremely easy, right? Because it's all it is just that particular mesh moves with the bone, right? The problem is that when it comes to game development, parenting no longer works. The only method that works is skin binding, where instead of binding an object to the bones, you bind the vertices, right? So this is where it gets a hell of a lot trickier, because now if you have a vertice of an arm, right, that goes up to your shoulder, suddenly when you move it up, vertices of like your torso start moving with it, and now you have to get into weights of the binding weights, right? And you have to figure out different positions, and you test everything, and you have to come up with these alternate rules and exceptions and custom states, which gets a hell of a lot harder and trickier and time-consuming very quickly. This is why rigging is a separate career that you can study and learn and master. Just because rigging alone is such a complicated procedure, right? So when it comes to non-mechanical animations, I've done it. I don't like it. It's a lot of work. This is why I'm actually I've been building this DIY motion capture system, which actually works on the Kinect sensors. And I mean, since you're into 3D modeling, this might actually be interesting to you too, because I think they have a Blender plugin too. So Animate, this is essentially, they had a beta of this a whole while back. What they do is they use the Microsoft Kinect sensors in order to do motion capture straight in the, as you can see, straight in your modeling program. The pricing is actually quite reasonable on this. For $10 a month, well, roughly around 17 bucks a month. Shit, dude, for sure. Like this is where you do planning. Obviously, this is what you're not just making models as you go. You get to a stage when you have to animate, and this stage is gonna take you like a month or something to do. This is where you purchase the license and you animate everything all at once, and then once you're done with that, you do several takes. You can go with clearing everything up. So I've seen this plugin before this new rendition. It was almost like a forgotten plugin that people seem to show enough demand for them to actually relaunch the thing. They do a lot of different expertise in different places. But yeah, this is it's fun. A lot of advertiser stuff. So I'm pretty sure they have a wait. Oh, for God's sakes! I'm pretty sure they have a Blender plugin. Oh well. What do you mean we have a dedicated rigger? Somebody else working on your team? I can hardly believe that you say you're just 13 years old. most 13-year-olds over here pick their nose and play with their wiener and fuck all anything productive and useful with their lives. Just look at you. Rigging, animating. Fucking hell, man. Right on. Anyways. So yeah. For the most part, I think I'm going to be doing just concept art today. This is just kind of me getting into the motions. Huh. So this is going to be just the demo. Arcade mode, so to speak. Oh, fuck. Ooh. The really wide field of view really helps with kind of seeing the surrounding world and assessing your next jump. It's almost like having I'd say like having fly eyes, where you see like a 360-degree angle of your surrounding. Three modelers, one voice actor, and 2 animator rigger. Interesting. Now, where is this we? Is it like a circle of friends, or you guys do you guys like just kind of work in the social media, or do you have like a dedicated place you guys usually get together? You should add a HUD that tells you how high you are. I should consider adding a HUD. Not necessarily gonna do it, because maybe just for the arcade mode. Arcade mode would kind of make sense. You know, just for the sake of having something that's on the thing. What I could do, however, is I could technically do something for the sake of having. Oof. Okay, I don't need App Game Kit anymore, actually. So there's a thing. FNAF subreddit. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so what I can do is I can every time you reach the top, it'll make a random level, and it will increment which level you're on. So you reach the top, it's level 2, but this time it's not going to be like 1,000 pixels or 1,000 units in height. It's now going to be like 1,500 units in height. And see, with the code, I have this variable here, lift. So technically this should be 5,000 just for the sake of it. Yeah, they float, they don't move, but they rotate, kind of orbit themselves. Let's see. So basically what I can do is right now, the destination or the level ending is exactly 5,000 units up. I'm not sure if it's pixels. Don't know if it would make sense if it was pixels, but it's 5,000 units up. So, and there's exactly 500 objects right now in this level. So 500 floating, you know, pillars, pylons, and geometry pieces to that area. So technically 5,000 pixels, 500 objects. All I have to do is divide the value from the lift variable, just divided by 10, and that will give me the amount of objects. So I can make a progression that when they reach the level, the top level, the level resets, but now it adds maybe another 1,000 to the fuck it. Adds another 1,000 to the lift, and subsequently it's going to add the proportional amount of objects to compensate for it. There we go. Alright, just had to wait for the low end. Doodle Jump. Interesting. Oh, Doodle Jump. I remember that game. The Android game, right? Where you had to like infinitely jump, and if you fell off the screen, that was the end of your high score. The early days of mobile gaming. Fucking hell. So maybe I will add the height counter. That'll be interesting. Okay, can I reach that? Oh fuck. Damn it. Oh no. Going down. Oh, damn it. Oh, come on. Barely. I think it might actually. Oh, hold on. Nah, that's not gonna happen. Yep, and there we go. So yeah, maybe just for the arcade point, I will add the, although, you know what? For the sake, I mean, the height variable, or the displaying of the height will really, literally serve absolutely no purpose. There's no purpose to that value, right? If there was some sort of mechanic, like maybe there's certain elements you have to pick up that are located at a certain depth, then the height, knowing what your height is, would actually be beneficial. But there's absolutely no game mechanic purpose to the displaying of the height there. Oh shit, that's not gonna happen. Oh shit, there's a thing up there. I can't reach it. Oh, can't reach this though. Hey, nice. Okay. Yeah, 4K graphics are... I mean, here's the thing. If something tells me that he was including those textures, did he mean like a full-on 3D game, or did he make like the classic FNAF, as in pre-rendered images? Because when you're working with like 4K stuff in GameMaker, you probably are better off saving and loading in them as external files instead of including them in the project. Because yeah, large textures and GameMaker don't really mix well together. Come on. Oh, oh. Ah, come on. So close. Oh my god. Oh, this thing is actually not small. I just need to wait. Do I have enough patience to wait? Ooh. When you're at the edge seems so much more menacing. Oh wow, this thing is actually spinning pretty fast. Should be careful. I can't reach that, I can't reach that. So this was a pretty fruitless adventure, unless I can actually make it to that thing. See, even as an arcade game, it can actually give you the heebie-jeebies. Ooh. Oh no! Ah. Bummer. So much for concept art live stream, eh? Yeah, sure. Ooh. Oh, this looks familiar. Okay. That's it. All right, so I gotta... In Game Maker, for FNAF games, the highest you should go is 1280 by 768. Maybe. Here's the thing. It depends on the frame rate of your animation. It depends on the size of your texture pages. Because here's the thing. In Game Maker Studio, all of the visual elements are distributed all among the texture pages. So instead of... It doesn't access all of your different image files by opening in each individual file. It places them all onto a single texture page. So it would make sense. It would not make sense for it to just open each individual file. So yes, you probably want to limit the size of like animation frames, but here's the thing. Every single animation frame in your animation would be placed as a separate image onto that texture page, right? So essentially the size of your animation, like for example, if you have a scare animation, like a jump scare animation that is the size of, like, that's 15 frames. You got to make sure that there's actually 15 frames. Yeah, but here's the thing. The frame rate will be at least 24 FPS. Here's the thing. In order for you to... Okay. The FPS in Game Maker Studio is separate from the FPS of the video. Because in Game Maker Studio, you can play back the animation at half speed, full speed. So here's the question. If you're animating your character, right? Here's your jump scare animation, right? It starts like this, then this, then this, then this, right? So let's say there's like 15 frames, right? If you do 24 frames per second, you're gonna get 3 frames like this, 3 frames like this, 2 frames like this, 3 frames like this, 3 frames like this. You have duplicate frames, right? And that is a waste of space, which is why you, instead of exporting the animation 24 frames a second, you export a single frame at a time. And you watch those half frames, because technically you don't need every single iteration, because we are talking about 3D animation, right? It interpolates the in-between frames automatically, but you don't need all of them. You don't need that entire, like, all the interpolation. Realistically, in this entire animation, you only need maybe about 20 frames, right? So this is where you have to actually be smart about your data. This is how you fit in more stuff onto the few texture pages, right? Because the more texture pages you have, the more texture swaps you have, which is the process of where Game Maker Studio has to unload a texture page, load in the new one. Like, for example, the first texture page has the first 7 frames of your jump scare animation, just one jump scare animation. It loads that first texture page, it plays back those 7 frames, then it closes that texture page. It opens up the second texture page where you have another 7 frames, and it plays those back. Then it closes those texture pages, opens the next one, right? So now the more frames you have, the more texture pages you have. Now you also have texture pages containing your background, texture pages containing your heads-up display, texture pages containing all the other animations for all the other characters, texture pages for everything, your backgrounds alone would be taking a huge fucking space, right? So there's a certain point where just making it in 2D becomes actually kind of redundant. And there's a limit to how high you can actually go with 2D graphics. So this is why you have to really watch your animation, because you export that, you know what, like 3-second animation at 24 frames per second. What do we got? That's 72 frames. 72 frames of one jump scare animation. 72 frames. You do not need all of those frames. You technically need just the 24 keyframes. So this is why you don't export. Like, this is actually something you have to watch out for, because I've done this mistake myself. Almost all of my sprites were animated, and I was with GameMaker I had huge lags. Like, my character would jump across half a level, and for some reason, every single time on that half level, every single time I compiled the game, I would have a lag spike, and it spiked maybe 2-3 times, and then it stopped. And if I restarted that level, so the game was still open, I just restarted the level, the lag spike was gone. So when one of my contacts helped me out to figure this process out, it basically meant that when I reached that point, there was some kind of a new element that was located on a different texture page, and that texture page had to be loaded into memory in order to play back the content. So that's why it wasn't occurring after the first time when I compiled the game, right? But if I close the game, it unloads all of those texture pages, and once again, if I reach that place, it has to lag a couple of times, and, you know, yada yada yada. Now at that point, I did not even know the importance of texture pages. All of my stuff was just getting automatically assigned to whatever. And this was the point when I realized the importance of it. And what I did is in GameMaker Studio, you have the ability to create custom texture pages. So let's see. Let me launch GameMaker for this explanation. I might as well. And nobody told me this stuff until the point when I was having those lag spikes, and I just had to ask for help. This is kind of, you know, the lesson I had to learn the hard way. Okay, so GameMaker Studio 2. So and this is both in 1.4 and 2. I'm not sure which one you have. I think you said you were getting 2 as your Christmas present. Remind me later. Ah, for God's sakes. Yeah, so this ability is present in both 1.4 and 2. So essentially, here is what I had to do. In both Studio 1.4 and Studio 2, you have this feature. Come on. Okay, so you have this feature, texture groups, right? This is essentially the ability to manually tell where each individual texture is going to go, where each individual tile and tile set and sprite is going to go. So I made a bunch of manual tile sets. For example, here's the main menu resources. In this main menu resource, I have my little icon for connect the controller that pops up only once in the entire game, right in the beginning, right at the start. That's the only place, the only time it pops up. You have the skin selection animations, some arrows. Here's my level map that I'd have to replace. Name of the level, another level map, the logo, the red background for the main menu, right? The tile background, This stuff I'll have to redo. You know, for animations, arrows, fucking giant ass assets. These assets are only seen in the main menu right at the start of the game. There's absolutely no reason for these assets to be present anywhere besides that. But Game Maker Studio, if you don't do this, Game Maker Studio will automatically do it for you, and it's going to do it depending on the size of the assets. So, so I told it, okay, put all the main menu into one single texture page. And it said, okay, so I'm going to do that. And now all of these are loaded. They're all bundled together. So it's much quicker to load these assets together. I have my, let's see, decals, which again, there's only like one level. Well, okay, well, decals actually show up throughout the entire thing. But the fact that these decals, the thing is, the way it works is Game Maker Studio renders stuff depending on the layer. So the background layer, so obviously your backgrounds would have to be bundled together, right? So let's see. Level hazards and obstacles. So I have my, these are all the hazards and obstacles. Decoratives. So here are my backgrounds, the two backgrounds, right? And these are all the background elements that I use throughout the entire game. These are the main ground elements. So I just make a texture map dedicated to jump scares. Yeah, well, texture group, not texture map. And bundle all of your jump scares there. But that's not the only thing you should be taking away from what I just said. Remember that you also need to watch your animation size, because in the animation, if you export your animation in 24 frames a second, you don't need every single one of those frames, right? You can tell game, like, if you only have the animation that has 12 frames in it, it doesn't mean that it's going to play back half a second, or it's going to play the entire animation in half a second. If you're working with 24 frames per second for export, but you only use 12 of those frames, you just tell GameMaker to play the animation at half speed, right? You do not need 60 frames a second animation. This is not the kind of game that you'd be using that stuff in, right? Obviously, if you get too low, like if you're using like 5 frames per second, you can actually tell that there's something wrong. So, you know, there's too little and there's too much. But as I said, if you export 24 frames a second and your jump scare animation is 3 seconds, all right, that's what was it? That's 72 frames at whatever resolution you posted before, right? 72 frames at 1280 by 768, whatever weird resolution there, right? So that's 72 1280 by 768 images. Now, GameMaker will do its best to try to if you use like alpha channels, GameMaker will do its best to crop it along the alpha channels as best as it can. So you don't have to do that stuff if you're using alpha channels. Another thing you have to usually look out for is the size of your texture page. So if you look at the texture page here, I'm using 4K textures, so 4096 by 4096. This is the size of my texture page. So if I press preview, it's going to start collecting all this data down there. It's going to collect all this data and show me how they're currently arranged. Now, mind you, if you have a single texture group that says this is a texture group for jump scares, and you put all your jump scares in there, if you have like 72 images, let's say you have like whatever 5 different characters, each one of them, or 4 different characters, each one of them has 24 frames in the total animation. You're still gonna get 72 frames, right? But they're not like 72 frames for one character. It's 4 different characters. So what happens is, obviously it won't be able to fit all of the animation frames into the single 4K by 4K texture pages. This is where it's going to create multiple texture pages and distribute them among those. And keep in mind that these texture pages are global for the entire game. You can't really have one single texture page for one character, for like level 1, and then have another texture page for level 2. That's just not how texture pages work. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what it is. Still working on the texture pages here. Technically, one thing you should be watching out for is try to use as least amount of animated sprites in your game as possible, unless you're talking about a heavily stylized game. Okay, here we go. So here are the texture pages. So like I had this elevator animation, this elevator here, right? As you can see, this is how it arranged all of my frames. You see I have multiple lasers. These are all the animation frames for this laser, right? Here are the all the animation frames for the stamping machine, right? Here, look at this. Each and every single frame for the loading screen logo, right? The more of these you have, as you can see, I've got like, what, 30, maybe 20 frames for the main menu panel. And the effect that I did in the main menu panel is just a little wiggle. I could have easily done it using code, using a sine wave function, which is an extremely easy function to write. It's just a sine wave, right? Using sine, put in a number, and use whatever it outputs to wiggle it along x, and the inverse of that value to wiggle it along y, so that if it contracts horizontally, or if it contracts vertically, it expands horizontally. And that's basically, that's like all the animation really is. It's just little bubble wobble, so to speak. And that could have been done in code, but considering that this here is just a placeholder animation, I'm gonna delete it either way. Yes, like panning, cutscenes, and that kind of stuff, that should be done with movement. You gotta really be creative about it. Anyways, yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Okay, it's been like an hour already, and I should get back to 38 minutes. Okay, but not too bad. It's not an entire hour of me just talking, so I should get to the concept art stage of this. I swear to God, when I get some spare cash, I'm gonna buy myself a bunch of monitors. Because this monitor has gone to shit. That monitor over there for my second computer rig has gone to shit. And both of those are 4x3. The only thing I have left is this TV, which can't even support the proper resolution of the entire screen. You see those black pads, right? You see that menu bar at the bottom? That's twice the size. I had to actually extend it because I can't fucking see it. It's not on the screen, and no resolution supports it, right? But it's the only thing I had available. Anyways. Oh, man. I hate working with a single monitor. The only second monitor I have is this tiny little thing over here. This that I bought off of AliExpress. It's good for like comment viewing and stuff for live streams, or putting like Netflix or YouTube video playback. It's cute. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to drawing. I'm gonna put on some music. Let's see, is my server running? My server is running. I have a question actually for you. No, actually no, you're highest, so that wouldn't be you. There's somebody else. Oh, there was somebody on one of my YouTube videos. Some kid was like trying to get the FNAF shader to work, which I have tried to help him as much as I could, but his issue was the kind of issue you really need to dig into the code. So I've already kind of tried to cover all the bases with trying to figure out and help him the way I could. But at some point I said, okay, I really have to dig into his code in order to realize what the problem is. So I told him I have a thing on my Patreon, $15. You could donate $15 via Patreon, and you pick the option for a reward, and the reward says, you know, I'll work with the shader and I'll figure out how to apply one of my, you know, tutorial solutions to your project. And he's like, $15? I don't have that kind of money. I'm like, well, shit, dude. What can I do? Okay, so this is just a map. As far as the catacombs go, I have this this idea. It's very specific. Dark Souls library. I really like this level in Dark Souls. Not the library though. The library. The library / prison. So I really like this level here. This giant pixelated fucking image. But I'd like to get a better look. It's the circular surrounding circular room that is a huge library. Why are there no fucking images? I mean, maybe it's the prison. Prison? Oh, it is the prison, but it's also a library. So what the fuck? Oh well. And I really like the way it looks, but I know if I'm gonna get into that one image, that image is gonna take me like 3 hours to draw. So anyways, let's start with the map. Essentially, the map, the first level is supposed to be closed space. So we have the catacombs, right? Oh yeah, and I wanted to put on some music. God damn it. I'm not gonna be talking too much, just drawing for the most part. Unless somebody asks me about something. Fucking hell. Are there like dropouts in a live stream by any chance? Here we go. Yeah, of course I'm gonna get a copyright strike because it's my own fucking music. Oh, same track. Next one. trying to figure out a way to indicate the presence of floating things. Southpaw. So my update on the forum, I assume. You and I are linked telepathically. So that's what that creepy fucking feeling that follows me around is. It's fucking you. Here I thought, it's like, why the fuck do I feel like I'm always being watched? Fucking explains everything. You and I can't survive without each other. Yeah, like fucking Siamese twins. Yeah, this was an update for the screen displays for Restream.io. Really handy because now instead of me having to have a separate window for my Twitch chat and YouTube chat, it actually combines all of them into this one window, and I can actually answer the comments here. I can actually pick where the comments go. Like I can post a comment to all of the chats all at once. Also, are the live streams running okay, or are there jitters by any chance? I can't really tell. One sec. Friend sending me his music. Check out. I just want to listen to what he says. Yeah, it's weird. OBS is like reporting 2700 kilobits per second. Fucking 0 kilobits per second. Yeah, see? I might have to actually reboot my router if this shit continues. We gotta reboot the router every like 1 month or every 2 months, which is probably still way too little. Fucking hell, why? This thing is refusing to work. So what did you do about your live streaming PC? For some reason the fan seems like it's... Hold on a second. Is it? I think it's still alive. It's just a little fucky. Yeah, okay, so it's running. I did have to unplug it and plug it back in. Like, unplug the fan from the motherboard, so maybe that fixed the loose connection. But so far so good, I think. Also, tell me if you see any more jitters in the stream. I finally ported the project from BASIC to C++, so now I can actually continue working on it in C++. I am actually kind of excited to work on the C++ because this is the first time I'm actually doing actual C++ work. I've never done it before. New keyboard, mouse, mousepad, and gaming chair. Oh shit, dude. I need a new keyboard. I need a mousepad for sure. For sure, I need a new chair. But unfortunately, most importantly, I need a new fucking monitor. I'm destroying my eyes on this fucking hybrid TV piece of shit that can't even hold my resolution properly. That monitor has run out of its lifespan. Fucking look at that red streak. It's fucking dead. I can't even display shit on it. So my plan is, for now, while I am working and while my dad is working on the Artag Rise script, the demo is technically done besides the script specific script related actions, like for example certain trigger events, floor collapsing, stuff like that, voiceovers, all that stuff depends on the script. Until we get the script done, at least for the demo, I'm gonna be programming, you know, other games, and this game just kind of was the best candidate, so to speak, for what it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post, maybe add a couple of things for this arcade mode. Right. I like how the music synced up there for a second. The same root note. I'll maybe add like a level-esque progression, like a high score type of deal. How many levels can you jump before you fall off? And I'll post this for maybe $2-3 on Game Jolt. See if I can maybe get some side income on that, so that I could, you know, afford the $100 for Steam Direct once, you know, if that comes to play, and maybe hire some texture artists to work on Artec Rise, you know, get some side income, and we'll see how that goes while I'm working on Artec Rise and script. I'll work on this, because this is pretty much more programming and 3D modeling, realistically. Will there be guns and jets? No, there won't, but there will be abandoned cities and an NPC that I'm going to try to voice over myself. So, better than jets and guns. For now, I'm just working on this level map. Oh yeah. Of course I drew that on a separate layer. Why wouldn't I? Or on the same layer.
Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty. And to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Oh look, a random viewer, somebody. This person I totally don't know in real life. Thank you, Ariad Arabi. Is that am I pronouncing that right? Ariad Arabi. So, Mr. Arabi, thanks for the compliment. Oh man. Okay. So this is just working on a level map. Oh man, before getting into things like actual concept art for these levels, I figured I want to make a level map here. You know, player for scale. Size of the map. Or size of the room, I should say. Oh yes, King Arya in the house, aka Skimtar, aka what's his face, Arya Stuckluck, the second best musician in the whole of Ontario, after me of course. Gracefully holding that second place. Oh boy. So, realistically, all of these levels, they're technically different areas and different iterations of this level. This entire game, pretty much. With the, with the blocks you gotta jump. It's just this is monotonically in space, while I'll just have to basically vary up the technically the backdrop, but realistically it's gonna be an actual mesh. So the player wakes up in what is essentially known as the pit. And just as a note to myself, I don't actually like the triangular cells. At least not in this particular case. So Arya, I'm expecting to see a Steam notification any moment now of you opening up Blunder. Okay. So, nothing fancy, nothing too out of this world. Realistically, I think I can provide enough information for general modeling in these sketches. Maybe. most part. We've got metal grates and bricks floating through this area. Southpaw. Not really. One of my real friends, however, dropped in my live stream. Arya Darabi is my real friend. You're just a side bitch. Oh god. Oh my god. Hold on. I have a perfect perfect thing here. Oh. Okay, let's see. I'm kind of getting hung up on the details when this is just a level map.